Welcome to Bad Idea Metals. I'm Anthony, and I'm going to show you a trick that I've learned recently. I can't believe it took me this long to even think of this trick. I'm pretty sure I watched somebody else do it, and I just had forgotten about it. But, you know, there's all sorts of different ways to take the shielding off of wires. There's razor blades and all sorts of ways. I've tried the block method, where you take 2 blocks of wood, you drill a hole, and you get a razor blade tip to just barely cover the hole, and then you pull wires through. I've got some scars from that method. It's not bad. It just, that razor blade is so non-forgiving that any stranded copper, it segments it and fractures some pieces here and there. And then I end up with sharp, jagged edges as I run my hand along the wire, and it cuts it up. I've tried a machine, and for the most part, it works really well. You feed the thicker gauge wire through an opening, and it's got this disc blade that spins as it sucks the wire through. The problem is, when it gets bent like this, it just jams up the machine. The other disadvantage that the machine has is, this is Romex right here, and it's got this nice outer shell, but the inner wires are still shielded as well. So the machine, I can get the wires out from here, but I can't get those smaller gauge wires to fit through very well. That machine is good for the thicker wires, but once you get down to these thinner things, it's just too hard. So I'm gonna bring you in close, but I bought, finally, it's a carpet knife. Looks a little bit menacing, I guess. Pirate, some pirate would have it, I guess, I don't know. But basically it's intended to be able to dig down into the fibers of the carpet and dig along and cut the core of, I don't even know what you call that, the substrate of the carpet, and you could cut it with a nice precise line. It's a very sharp blade. I'm going to show you what I've been doing with this. So it cuts real easy, and it can cut real shallow too. So that's one of the things that I like about it, is it's got this hook to it, this bow, and it makes it so that the wire doesn't try to skip away from you as badly as just using a straight blade would. So for this Romex, this is internal housing wire. It's usually pretty soft, that once you get it started, you can get it to just tear free. So that's good. All right, so now that we've got it exposed, this is just a standard 14.2. If you can see it. If you can see back here, I've got some 14.3 and some 12.2, I believe, is that yellow stuff. But you'll see that we have our ground wire. It's already considered bare and bright. This is unshielded. It's really nice. Let's go ahead and free the rest of this, but this is where the magic of this blade really comes in. So let's go ahead and free the rest of what's on this cord. All right, so now we've got this entire tangle of wire, which leaves us with this coil of bare bright. Now, this will only stay bare and bright until it starts to oxidize. Once this starts to either oxidize from being out in the weather or start to take on too much oil from my hands, then it starts to change colors, and then it just becomes a number 1 copper, which it's only different by about 1/4 per pound, so 25 cents or so per pound, but you might as well get maximum amount for each pound, right? So my advice, if you're not going to melt them and you're going to sell them soon after you get them out. Otherwise they lower in value as they oxidize. Okay, the black wire inside, it's a single core. There's no stranding. It's just like this ground wire, a single core. But the trick is, how do you get such a nice tight fitted sheath off. So this is where this knife is really handy. So this takes a little bit of practice to get to where you can get it all in one continuous motion or one continuous piece. But what I try to do is I get about 3 or 4 inches peeled off on one side, and I'll explain why as we get towards the end. But you want to reveal about 3 or 4 inches, because then what I do is I tie it to something solid. Now all I do is I take the blade and I just lightly push down as I pull it towards myself. Now be careful for your hand with this step, but I can go faster. I'm just going slow so you can see how fast the peeling actually happens. So that right there, that was pretty much effortless. I hate I hate using that saying, it cuts just like butter, but that's actually what this almost feels like. You get a nice sharp blade, you get it started, and it just, when you get in the groove of it, it just cuts real smooth, real easy. And you can just go all the way to the end of the wire, and then the shielding just literally peels back with no effort whatsoever. So I know it's gonna be hard to see in the video, but this is all unshielded copper now. Let me wind that up. Unhook it from the trailer. And this is what we're left with. Pretty easy copper. Surprise, surprise, it all looks like copper. But there's all 3 of the wires from the inside of the Romex. So this feels to be about 1/3 to 1/2 pound. So it's not a ton, but melting that down, I would have had to melt down all the shielding, and that shielding turns into black smoke, and that black smoke just goes into the air for us to breathe, and I prefer not to breathe in my own carbon waste from melting these. But the fun part is now, if I run into a surplus and I can't justify melting all of my own copper, I have access to some bright and shiny, because this is about the minimum gauge that the local business that buys bright and shiny at a bright and shiny price, this is the minimum gauge that they'll buy it at almost. That's just something I wanted to share with you guys today. It's not rocket science by any means. It does improve your value of your copper. And the only tool that I used today was this carpet knife. Well, I've been doing this for a few weeks with great success. I wanted to go back and re-record part of this because some of my footage was pretty dark. I was in the shadows. So now I'm going to try doing this out in the sunlight so you can see it better. Another thing to always keep in mind, sharpen your tool. From time to time it'll dull. And you never want to work with a dull knife. From experience, as well as from a safety perspective, working with a dull knife, you have to fight it harder, and the more energy you put into a knife when it slips becomes an injury. So always work with a sharper knife than a duller knife. Anyway, so one thing I wanted to show you an update on was how I was peeling the wires. I found a pretty cool trick using the edge of a truck or a table or something. I like, especially since the blade is round, I like to pin it. To pin the wire and just pull it right across. And you'll notice I didn't do very much with my blade arm. If I get a good start, then flip it around, now I can just continue on the other direction. And it's hardly any effort whatsoever. Sometimes it gets stuck, just reset. That one kind of had to be fought through at the end. Pick this up off the ground. There's the the ribbon or the cutting, and that's one continuous piece. Now these are aluminum wires today. That just happens to be what I have on my truck. But there you go. And I coil them up. And either I can melt them or I can sell them. Let's do one more just for fun. Let me see if I've got one more. All right. I was able to find this red aluminum wire. There we go. I hope you can see all that. But we're gonna start with one end. Take about, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches off one side. Well, pretty simple. Again, I'm holding the blade up against the edge of the truck. Throw the rest of it in now that I've got that one piece done. And honestly, I like using the edge of my truck. I understand not everybody's gonna have a truck, but you need a pretty sturdy table, because with the amount of energy that I'm pulling with, the table has to hold pretty still. I guess you can sit on it or you can wedge it, but for me, I like the mass of the truck holding still, so that way I can pull the wire along it. And again, it's pretty simple. It's almost effortless. Every once in a while it'll get stuck, get hung up on something, one of the coils. Oh, that was a pretty fun long segment there. Get the restart here. It's diving away from me. That's part of my problem. If you get it to go as flat as possible or even curve up a little bit, you have a lower chance of it jumping off. And the wire pretty much just unshields itself. It's so nice. There we go. And get a good start there, and then just peel it back. And it's free. Again, I like to coil it up. Makes it easier to deal with. When it's in long lengths like this one is, they get tangled up even though they're de-shielded. And there you go. Pretty easy. Here's all the empty casing. And some of it's rubber, some of it's plastic. Most of it is just garbage. If you guys know where to recycle these, that's great. Let me know in the comments, but for the most part, I just throw these away. There's not much I can do about it. They don't say what their recycling density is, and around where I live, there's only a few of the recycling plastic types that we deal with here. So, well, that's it. I just wanted to give a quick update and show how easy that this can be. And I did find that new way to do it. I think the way that I showed at the beginning of the video is still right. I still utilize the tie it onto something and then pull towards myself. That's nice for really, really long lengths. But when they're only about 3 to 5 feet or even less, I guess, just the edge of my truck is easier. But yeah, that's it. I still love that carpet knife, and I've had to sharpen it a few times, but yeah, that's it. Okay, well, thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good night.